Welcome back to Between Two Coupons with your co-host here, Greg Sharp, 40 Skids.
I'm 39 Escobar. We have a special
39.
guest today.
Yeah, Mark, you want to introduce yourself and how we got you involved here?
Sure. Yeah, my name's Mark Shear. I'm a gastroenterologist over at Midwest GI here in Omaha, and just coming on to talk about all the good stuff about colon cancer and prevention, more importantly.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we love that. So for those who are our 3 or 4 subscribers now, maybe we're up to 6 now, Greg. I think we have 6
We rounded
subscribers.
up, yeah.
You
Yeah.
guys are getting there.
We have 80. We're just kidding. Uh, just a reminder: this is F3 Fitness Fellowship and Faith. We have 5 core principles. Won't bore you guys with the details, but the most important disclaimer is we are not professionals, as you can tell
We're
from
not.
this high quality video. So with that, as you guys all know, this entire year we've been focused on men's health with an emphasis on screening. We did a survey not too long ago, learned that many of you, about 30 to 40%, don't have a primary care physician. Light bulb hit for Skids and I, and we thought, let's create some awareness on what guys need to know as it relates to healthcare. As part of the F3 mantra, taking care of your body, taking care of your queen, as we call it, is really important. So hopefully we can motivate one guy, maybe 2 guys, 3 of you to go get screened, get a primary care physician, get all that covered. And then, so for today, we'll be talking about GI health and colon health and colon screening. So, Dr. Shear, we're just super grateful to have you. Greg, maybe speed round questions, just get to know.
Yeah, Mark, do you want to start out? Where'd you grow up? Why'd you choose medicine, and where you did your training at, and kind of where you're
Sure.
at today?
Sure. I grew up in Toledo, Ohio, so nowhere around here, and did my training in um, down in Florida, Nova Southeastern. Ended up doing my residency in Chicago. And then just, life brought me to Omaha. And in Omaha, I did my fellowship for GI at UNMC, Nebraska Medical Center, and thought sure as heck I was going to get out of Omaha, Nebraska in 3 years. And the joke's on me. 12 years later, I'm still here and loving it. So um, it's a good place for me, a good place for my family, and I found a good group to work with. So got lucky.
And where do where do you practice again, and where are those locations at, or how's your week look usually?
Sure. Our group's called Midwest Gastrointestinal Associates or Midwest GI. Our main office is at 90th and Dodge, but we have some satellite locations in Council Bluffs and West Omaha. But we go to most of the major hospitals here in town. A lot of our work has become outpatient, doing prevention and screening, but we still do quite a bit of inpatient and taking care of folks when something happens. So we're all around. But yeah, our main office is down at 90th and Dodge there.
What pushed you into the field of GI? Like, how did you find yourself in this specialty?
I joke a little bit. It's GI is a little bit of everything. So I say it kind of soothed my ADHD. When I went into medicine, I thought I maybe do pediatrics. I tried peds. It wasn't quite for me. Tried surgery and a lot of the surgical specialties. They do a really nice job, but the follow up isn't always there. And so I tried GI, and there's a lot of long term relationships in GI. So you have hospital work, office work, surgical center work. You have some long-term patients, short-term patients. Just kind of gave me a little bit of everything and different things on a daily basis. So wasn't something I envisioned, but it's something I really enjoy at this point.
So how do people get referred to you, or what's kind of are patients walking in, or is it usually like a primary care physician, or?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Some folks will have an issue. They'll go work with their primary care and they're not quite getting there. So their primary will send them over. Other folks will just start with us. Some folks will meet us through just a routine screening. So they'll come in for screening. We'll see other things going on and they'll follow back up with it, with us in the office. So just several different ways and we'll talk to you anyhow.
So what all falls into the world of GI? Like what does the average Joe come find you for?
Most people come in for just screening and routine colonoscopies and health maintenance. That's kind of our bread and butter. But GI really encompasses, jokingly but not, anything from where your food goes in to where your food goes out. Then you got in there, you got the liver, you got the pancreas, you got the small intestine, the colon, the esophagus. It's kind of a a luminal organ system where, it goes in one way and out the other, and everything in between that touches it.
I think
So
you get a kick out of F3. I think pretty much 90% of our jokes have something to do with things going in or out of us. As
Yeah, that's my life, and my wife probably probably wasn't her way growing up, but it's become her way now, and she just kind of gives me that side head shake most of the time when I make a joke.
yeah, I my F3 name is Skids, which we don't need to talk about how I got that, but it's related to a skid mark and it's not what you think. But I'm a big believer in fiber. So I guess you mentioned nutrition. So what are some things to start this off like we should be doing at our age, say average age 40, 50 at home?
I think I'll take your lead on that one. Fiber is an important thing, and sometimes the enemy of good is more. Um, you know, as I don't know if skids relates to or not, but um, keeping good fiber in there to prevent a lot of things from happening in the GI tract when things move through there without straining, without going 5 or 6 days without using the bathroom. It just prevents a lot of irritation. So I think the big thing to focus on is fiber. But then again, you don't necessarily need to eat a whole bag of prunes because then you're going to end up with some problems too.
I like
I
that.
like that.
One thing that we've been doing in this series is helping to educate the guys on what they should be looking at home in terms of if they have a problem or what types of assessments they should be make. But when you're thinking about GI stuff, what should guys be paying attention to at home?
Sure. The biggest thing for guys is, I guess we tend to be a little stubborn. And if your gut's been hurting, if something just isn't sitting right, if all of a sudden you look at your stools and they're the size of a pencil, or you're seeing blood, those are the things that you want to bring to either your primary or a GI's attention. The challenge with a lot of GI issues is they're not a problem until they're a problem. And when they become a problem, it's kind of beyond easy help at that point. So a lot of GI issues come with prevention. Obviously, if you're the kind of guy that goes to the bathroom and it's once every 10 days, yeah, that's a problem that you're going to recognize. Um, but as far as prevention and colon cancer and just kind of other issues, the challenge is that they're not a problem until there's a problem. So just don't be stubborn is my main message to the guys that I see in the office. We all suffer from that XY chromosome, or the Y chromosome. The double X, they seem to be a little bit smarter than us and calling attention when they need it. But you just have to be on top of it and don't be embarrassed. Like you said, everyone's conversations usually drift into a certain direction when it comes to GI related health, but it's not anything to be embarrassed about. It's something to be upfront and take care of things.
So with average screening, is that still 45 if you don't have any other, familial things and indication one?
It is. It is. A couple of years ago, it changed to 45. They were finding that people under the age of 50, where it was, colon cancer was becoming more common. And they were finding polyps in these people. And colon polyps, they lead to colon cancer. If there's a good thing about colon cancer, it's that it's very slow growing. On the average, it can take 10 years or so to go from a precancerous lesion into a cancerous lesion. The nice part about that is you can remove them when it's small, remove it when it's not anything but a precancerous lesion. That way, it never has the opportunity to become a cancerous lesion. So with that, with seeing those precancerous lesions earlier and earlier, they drop the average age the screening age to age 45 rather than age 50. And you just feel like you're seeing a lot more polyps being removed, colon cancers being prevented. But unfortunately, you still do see a lot of the cancers in young folks.
Tell us a little bit about colon cancer, right? So you mentioned a lot of organs that when I think about them, they remind me of scary cancers, right? Pancreas, liver cancer, and then now colon cancer. And so I think there's a massive stigma around cancer as it relates to men, and you'll find a certain behavior men are just like, I'll figure it out when I figure it out, and they're scared, to get screened. So tell us a little about the cancer. Tell us a little about the screening process.
Sure. So the most common thing to find is a colon polyp, which is, if you get it removed, is absolutely nothing and of no harm to you. A colon polyp is anything, from a millimeter on up in It's something called an adenoma. Adenoma is that initial cells when they begin to replicate out of control. And once they continue to do that, they turn into a cancer. You remove an adenoma or a polyp, and you don't have any consequences of it. You might have to come back sooner than every 10 years or every 5 years, but that's a lot easier than chemotherapy. When people get diagnosed with colon cancer, if it's stage 1 or 2, the 5 year survival is 90% and above. When you start to get into those later stages of colon cancer, stage 3, you drop into the 70s as far as survival at 5 years. And when you get into stage 4, that percentage goes down quite a bit. So even if there is a colon cancer that's seen and you catch it at an early stage, that survival is pretty high. But the key is to identify it and to remove it and to get treated appropriately. So, people don't like that C word, and I don't like it either. But when it comes to colon cancer, you can prevent it, and then if you catch it early, you can treat it.
So what's the screening look like, feel like, if somebody, watching hasn't gone through that yet? Say
Sure.
they're 40, 45, whatever, they need to get a appointment set up. What's the kind of that screening day look like? And prep, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's the important part. So, there's a lot of modalities for screening for colon cancer. The gold standard and the one that we focus on in our world is a colonoscopy. So let's say you're going to have a colonoscopy tomorrow. So you wake up today and you go on a clear liquid diet. So you can have, chicken broth, you can have popsicles, you can have coffee without cream, you can have a Pepsi, Sprite, pick your poison, lots of Jello, and you just want that clear liquid in your system. So later on that evening, there's a prep that you take, and we've gotten a little creative over the years. 10 years ago, you just had this big gallon jug, 4 liters of swamp. I won't say what we call it, but it's just it's a bad pina colada. And so now we can use Gatorade. Now there's some commercial preps that are pretty darn good. And you drink that in the evening. So you drink half it about 5 to 6 o'clock at night. It's going to make you start going to the bathroom. And the nice part is you've had clear liquids all day. So the water just kind of follows the salt in the prep. And you start going. Then you wake up about 4 to 6 hours before your colonoscopy. And you drink the second half of it. And this really just kind of finishes it off. It really makes the tissue so you can see everything, see all the little nooks and crannies. And then we're able to identify polyps that might be a millimeter or too big. So using the fiber optics and the cameras, we have pretty good detection. So, yeah, I get it. Guys like to eat, people like to eat, but you can survive on Italian ice and Jello and some Pepsis for a day, and it does you a lot of good in the back end. No pun intended, but it does you a lot of good on the backside. And then the next day when you wake up from your colonoscopy, which is the best nap in the world, you get a little propofol nap for about 20 or 30 minutes. You wake up, you feel a little groggy for about 5 or 10, and then your ride takes you home and you just get to go to town on whatever you're looking to eat.
That's awesome. You're in a field that I feel like has seen a lot of emerging innovations. And even like screening has seen some advancement as well. And so the thing that came to mind immediately about the screening discussion is like even our company offers like a fecal test of sorts. And I think Skids, you had done that recently, but tell us a little bit about that. Like what's the pros, what's the cons of that, and what do you
Sure.
see?
No, absolutely. Yeah, there's a few different ones. And, there's just the old fashioned, they call it an occult blood, where it's looking for any sort of blood in there. That's, ages old, and its accuracy can be debated. There's a new one that looks at DNA. So they take a stool sample and they look at the DNA. And I'm a hammer, so everything's a colonoscopy. But those are good tests, and I don't want to minimize them by any account. The challenge with those becomes is they're really good at detecting colon cancer. They're not very good at detecting precancerous lesions. So they miss about half of all the precancerous lesions that they see that are small. The downside of those too is that if yours is positive, then you're going to get a colonoscopy, and you have to look out. If you're going to protect yourself, the insurances are all a little different. So some insurance companies will give you one chance for a screening test. And so if your DNA test is positive, they consider that your screening. So then
Okay.
everyone varies as far as whether or not they're going to cover your colonoscopy.
Mm.
So I just encourage people to be careful of that. And then I encourage folks, you want to get the test that's going to remove the precancerous lesions. Um, because if you have colon cancer, cat's out of the bag, so to speak. But anything is better than nothing. Let me say that there are CAT scan colonoscopies. They call them virtual colonoscopies.
Hmm.
And the downside of that is you still have to drink the prep. Then you go and you do a CAT scan. If they see a polyp, you got to go back and drink the prep again to do a colonoscopy. So there's 5 or 6 different screenings. They're all good. And if someone's not going to do anything, I'd love them to do any of them. But that being said, the gold standard is going to be colonoscopy.
Seems all roads end to colonoscopy.
All roads end in the colon.
Yeah, I did do that DNA test the other day. Our company, you can sign up for free ones, they actually pay you
Yeah,
if you just take it.
yeah,
And that was kind of funny. It's like you like paint the turd and put it in a bag or something. It was kind of like it's kind of interesting. So
yeah.
very,
The poor
minimally.
FedEx guy doesn't know what he's getting anymore.
I know. I was like, I feel bad for these lab guys, but no, it's yeah. I mean, I just turned 40. D's really good. Escobar's really close here, so I know there's a lot of health insurances now that'll pay for it after 30, after 35, just with the rise in things. So,
Absolutely, absolutely.
any other thoughts on prevention measures or any other things that what are some of the main watch outs, I guess?
Yeah, that's the challenge. Is any of the prevention measures I would certainly encourage folks to do. Anything you're eligible for, anything that your insurance covers, because as you alluded to, the challenge is signs to watch for don't always come.
Hmm.
If you see any blood in your stool, you can't just assume it's a hemorrhoid. You got to do a colonoscopy. If you're having any change in your bowels where all of a sudden, your stools are as big as a pen or a pencil, and you're like, wow, the caliber, they used to look like Snickers bars and now they look like a pencil. Get it checked out. There's no shame in it, and you'd be surprised if you start talking to the guy next to you in the cubicle or in the next office. Everyone deals with the same thing, so there's nothing unique about it, and everyone should feel pretty comfortable talking to their doctor, whether it's their primary care, whether it's their GI doctor, because prevention is key in our world.
Is there any other things, like we hear don't, everything in moderation, too much alcohol causes cancer, not the right diet, or not enough fiber, not enough exercise, like anything else there specific to GI health, or is it kind of all the
You
same?
know, all of that is good advice. Moderation is key. When it comes to GI health, yeah, a little bit of alcohol goes a long way, and a lot of alcohol doesn't always go in the right direction. You got to be worried about your liver. We think of cholesterol and our heart, but cholesterol deposits in the liver, and if you get a fatty liver, is what they call it. After 20 years, it's like you drink a case of beer every day for 20 years. All roads in that lead to cirrhosis. So you do have to moderation is key. You want to keep your liver healthy. You want to keep your colon healthy. Yeah, moderation is key. Sometimes the American diet doesn't always take moderation into account.
Yeah, for sure. Escobar, any more questions? I thought of an F3 name for Mark already if he decides to come out and join us. So,
Nice.
I mean, polyp. It's got to be polyp, right? That's too like there can't be. Do we have a polyp yet?
Scope or something.
I
There
mean,
you go.
scope. Yeah.
We got plenty of good GI humor. That's sort of our lifeline.
Yeah.
No, Dr. Shear, we're super grateful again that you're sharing a little bit of your wisdom and knowledge and experience with us. Again, where do guys find you? And is your practice still taking patients? Like, give us some details. We want to definitely plug in. We'll make sure we enter it in the comments.
No, absolutely. Again, we're over at Midwest GI. We're main locations at 90th and Dodge. Yeah, give us a call. There's about 22 of us now. We have several females too. If someone's wife, is looking for a physician, women oftentimes feel more comfortable with women. Guys oftentimes don't have a preference, but we can pair you up with whatever you need. And the key is just don't be stubborn. Prevention goes a long way in our world. So we appreciate what you guys are doing. It's a big deal.
Yeah, thank you for
Awesome.
that.
Well, appreciate you joining us. We'll get you out of here. Plus, Zoom's going to kick us off in like a minute or two. Since this is between two coupons, we have no budget, so this is we do free only. So
That's awesome.
thanks again, Dr. Shear, for joining us. And you guys check out the comments if you want a referral.